I'm Veronika Jabinger from the Theaterakademie August Everding in Munich.
My name is Colleen Cameron. I am a visiting lecturer and mentor at the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland, and I've been following the academics pilot team and the transnational meetings.
Most of the students in the different schools have already different languages, and sometimes the school didn't know about that till the end of the studies. We want to have that the students have the opportunity to go on stage with their other languages as well.
Working with many different languages is actually a wonderful tool for the actors, especially if they're creating their own work. If they're creating their own work and use their mother tongue, it can really connect to a different part of them within their performance, and often it can be much more truthful in acting. Europe's demography is constantly changing, and so more and more people with a multilingual background are wanting to see theatre. So maybe this will also impact the kind of work that needs to be created for audiences.
If young actresses and actors had once the possibility to be in multilingual projects like we did now with academics, the pilot team, they got to know that it is possible to work like this, and they are more open for projects like this.
Often there's pressure when it comes to speaking the language of the school that you are studying in, to pronounce it really correctly, and sometimes this can be actually a barrier to the performer. So the possibility of being able to work in their own language to connect further to a character is actually very important to their training.
Many of the students have the wish and the desire not only to work in the language which is normally taught in the school, but further on in English for having film scenes or something to get connected to industry and to get jobs.
Unfortunately, in the UK industry, there is a lot of stigma attached to people who come to Britain and speak with a slight accent, so our international students. We find that in the industry itself, you're very unlikely to get work, say, as anything other than a very stereotypical role that's linked to the accent that you're speaking in. So this kind of stigma ought to go away. But what we did find when we were talking about these in every country is that, for instance, in Germany, actually you're more likely to get work if you have an accent, because at the moment it's very interesting for audiences to hear different stories on stage. And for instance, in Germany, the theatre is more and more reflecting the demography, and so it's more common to see different accents on stage, whereas 10 years ago that wasn't something that happened. At the Royal Conservatoire of Scotland, there is a course where they train actors in English and British Sign Language to create work, to be actors, and more these actors are being incorporated into speaking theatre companies. And so in Scotland, it's actually considered, quite rightfully, a multilingual piece of work if there's British Sign Language in it. And it's important to remember that as well. It's really important that the students are made aware of what's going on in the place they're studying. So it's vital that teachers, the staff, make sure that the students know that there are multilingual shows on in the city. We also thought that it would be a fantastic idea is to really collaborate with the libraries that are in the schools and to encourage them to stock books, texts that are in different languages so that students are able to access them easily. Another great recommendation we have is to create a list of multilingual plays which the students and teachers can access. They can be multilingual plays, they can also be just texts in different languages.
The partners would like to make exchanges with the other schools for teachers and students to get more used to work with other languages.
For recommendations on what to change within the curriculum, It would be fantastic if we would be able to continue an exchange between the students so that they can create shows together, maybe once every 2 or 3 years. As part of the curriculum, it would be really interesting to actually include performances or work that is not text-based, but more physical theatre or musical. We think it's really important to identify the experts in multilingual theatre, whether it be directors, theatre companies or individuals, and invite them to do workshops in our schools. It's really important as well to encourage the students to have an opportunity to perform in another language if they have one, at least once during their training. Some students expressed how they would like to learn English and be able to perform in English if they're in a school where English isn't first language. So we considered that it might be worth creating mandatory classes of how to perform in another language.
If we give the students the time for their own personal projects, we will get new stories. And when they bring their own stories, it's more easy for them to use their own mother tongue or bilingual. If the students need help for their own projects, they can get impulses of the mentors and they can help with the different languages on stage as well.
We would also recommend that it's important to think about multilingualism in the recruitment process when auditioning students. Perhaps if they speak another language, maybe it's a good idea to encourage them to perform a piece in that language. This will open up the application process to new profiles, people from different backgrounds and people who speak different languages.
We were thinking about how we could encourage the students to get in touch with agencies or other industry sectors in the different countries to have the opportunity to go to other countries for working.
In Glasgow, we spoke about the responsibility of the schools in changing the industry, the future industry. And we considered how important it is to connect to different communities where the schools are based. And in doing that, then, encouraging people from a different background to apply to the school and ultimately change the industry. We thought that a way that students might be able to do this is to create shows in a small format, multilingual, just to make sure that people in different communities are aware of the school, are interested in the stories that the students are telling, and consider going to drama school as an option for them.